We end up calling a 7-man pressure, drop 4.
Yeah.
And instead of us just going, hey, it's 3rd and 11, we bring the freaking house. They just do a dunk over the top to Jeremiah Smith.
Roebuck, in terms of a slot wide receiver, that's a true freshman. I don't know what more you can ask for. He looks like literally like mini Doug Baldwin.
There's a couple really big stats you got to look at when you look at this Maryland defense. One number is 16, the other number is 8. 16 is the amount of sacks this defense has. That's a lot through 4 games. That's 4 a game. Then 8 is the number of interceptions they have.
Yeah. I think our injury concerns are real. I think playing on the East Coast and our injury concerns are real. I just think the law firm, man, I'm telling you, I just think that I think in a game like this, I just think they're better. Yeah. I just think our star power is better.
Welcome to the Dubbed Up Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Flaunt. After a tough loss to Ohio State, we're reeling. Make sure you guys go like, subscribe, go join the Discord. All the links are down below. I got my guys Izzo and Noah with me. Fellas, we showed some good stuff on Saturday. We hung with them through most of the game, but then they pulled away at the end. How are we feeling? Izzo, tell me, how you feeling?
I don't really know what to say to like wrap things up with just like one sentence or something clean to be like, hey, here's a 3-sentence synopsis of this game. We have to dig into it because the defense looked great. The offense at times looked great. The play calling in the red zone sometimes was questionable. I think, like the rest of us, there's probably more to be optimistic about. And if you're going to pull that from a loss than there is to be pessimistic about. But yeah, we'll see how as we break it down. I don't know, what are your guys' thoughts? But Noah, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, they were who we thought they were. I mean, you hear a lot about this offense on Ohio State. Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tates, Bo Jackson, this young freshman, Julian Say, another freshman. In the preview, we kind of talked about, hey man, they're bringing in 8 of 11 new starters. But I'll tell you what, man, this team created a lot of problems. You just kind of tip your cap to Matt Patricia. He called a hell of a game plan. They kind of kept him on, man, what I call like in the dog kennel. They had that they had a protection of the pocket the whole game. When he got out, they had the spy waiting for him. And man, you want to talk about 2 linebackers that can run, man. I mean, yeah. Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles. Yeah, everyone talks about Caleb Downs, and they talk about, go ahead.
No, I just said not me.
Oh yeah, talking about those linebackers. I mean, all American, but man, I came away impressed with those linebackers. But in the end, man, if you want to beat a team like that, you can't beat yourself, man. And multiple bad punts. Penalties were killers. I mean, the box score had us at 6 for 49, but I think our penalties couldn't have come at like some of the worst times. 1st and goal on the 3, we get a false start. You just got to have 7 there, especially in the first quarter, coming off that 4th down, stop, and then we pop back. It's just like, yeah, it was just. It just kind of seemed like
that right there is the synopsis. Just the big sigh. It's like what could have been.
Yeah,
you're 100% correct. You're 100% correct on what it could have been. And the problem is you were thinking that Ohio State wasn't going to be able to get up for this game, traveling across country, all the things that were working against them. And it was ironic to see on that first drive 3 penalties against 3 of our most veteran offensive linemen.
Mm.
And they're false start penalties. Like, come on. And then you get the penalty on Jed Fish.
Yeah,
penalty for running into the sideline penalty. Like, those were things that just were killers. And we did everything in that first quarter that you needed. We got the turnover after those penalties to put us right back to where we needed to be. We got opportunities to get ahead, and we didn't seize those opportunities.
Yeah, I thought that I thought the penalty on Jed was a little ticky-tack, like immediately throwing the flag, like no sideline warning is a little bit ridiculous, but I'm sick of the sideline warning penalties in the last 2 years. It's like crazy, but it is what it is. I think having heard your guys' thoughts, like the thing that sticks out to me is that I felt like from an offensive standpoint, that we got lulled into resting on our laurels for the first 3 games and like maybe operating with some assumptions that was going to get us through in the red zone and lulled us to sleep a little bit from an offensive scheme standpoint. But you have to call out the fact that they had 2 weeks to prepare for this game and we had 1. And that does make a difference, especially scheming against a guy like Matt Patricia.
And just to be clear, that's the first of 5 we have for the remaining of the year. So we have 5 Big Ten teams coming off a bye before they play us.
Yes. Yeah. So, and mind you, we're missing Takario, we're missing a linebacker, our star linebacker, and we still held this offense down. And they were methodical and kind of did do what Noah had talked about and what his fear was, which was just extend drives, which is why the yardage in this game was low and the score was low. But yeah, it is what it is.
It was the type of game that an Ohio State wins because they have that defense and running game and they're able to get us all tired out by the end of the game because we were worn out by the end. But I mean, I forgot how much time was left in the fourth quarter. It was still a 1-score game. And so we were hanging with them. But let's do this, guys. Let's take a look at the offense and kind of break down what the offense did well and what they didn't do well, because the first half we were moving the ball. Up until 2 minutes left in the first quarter or second quarter, we were up 3-0. We were winning the game. We had the momentum. And to be honest with you, I really felt like we could hang with these guys. I was surprised at how good our defense played. But let's look at the offense. Noah, I'll start with you on this one. When you're watching the offense operate, especially in that first half, what really worked for you, and then kind of get into what didn't?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at what did work, I mean, Damon Williams started the game. His first 11 passes, I think he was 10 of 11. He was kind of throwing the ball all over the place. I thought he looked very efficient. He never really got his legs going. He got the ball to Evans, got the ball to Roebuck. Both those guys were making plays. I mean, that spin move by Amari Evans, if just the whisker of his knee, if that's even a term. But man, I mean, it was so close to make an explosive play there. Did you guys notice all game? They bracketed Boston all game with number 18, Jalen McClain. Dude, he was just over. Yep. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So they just got to tip the cap. I mean, they had 2 weeks to prepare, and they said he's your best player, in the air. That's who we got to take away. And what was interesting is there was a little cat and mouse there. He was out on the outside bracket. Then what'd they do? They put him in the slot. Bracket. Then they put him in the backfield. If you notice that, they even brought him out of the backfield, put him in motion, put him back in the slot, and they just kept taking Jalen McClain, number 18. He would literally just move, then he'd come down. One thing I did like, and we talked about this in the preview, I actually like the tight end usage. I would actually wish we could have seen it a little bit more. I thought Decker was exposing the seam, just like we talked about. I thought you saw Roebuck get a lot of openings because the middle of the field was open on big crossers. But some of the things that I wish that I just could see us get better on is finishing. You have to finish in the red zone. Our calls seemed, I'm going to be very frank, they seemed a little scary to me. With a QB like Damon, you have to move the pocket. You have to expose the defense. You have to put them in position to be just uncomfortable. And I think our red zone calls didn't do that. Now, did it hurt when we got those penalties like we're talking about, those false starts? You have 1st and 3 on the 8, on 1st and goal on the 3, then you get pushed back to the 8. And the other thing too, we said field goals couldn't be missed in this game. And you know what? Grady Gross, 2 for 2 in his field goals. But honestly though, you weren't going to win this game with field goals. Mm-hmm. And so those are a couple of things I thought we did well, a couple of things I thought we could do better. This team's going to be okay. If we can this injury bug's starting to stack a little bit, and that's what's I think worrying me more than anything. Not really losing a game 24-6 to the number 1 team in the country. This is the number 1 team in the country, even with Julian saying, and we'll get into that a little when we talk about our UW defense. But I mean, tip your cap to these guys, man. They kind of just choked us out when they needed 3 yards.
Yeah, there's not a lot of these like crazy explosive offenses in college football this year, and this defense might just go win them a natty. Like it is that good, man. I mean, it's
Just the size with the speed is just
it's unfair.
Did you guys remember really quick? Do you remember the play where Damon breaks out of some pressure he gets from the left side and he kind of breaks out to the right? And you see Arvell Reese just like exactly what he's supposed to do. He just spies, comes right out with him. Damon tries to put like a move on him, and Arvell Reese just kind of stands there like, brother, yeah, exactly. Like this
I got the
don't,
bear hug on you,
yeah,
dude.
this don't work on me,
6'5".
pal. And it was the first time I ever thought to myself, that dude just made Damon's like quickness, short area, quick burst look like
Nothing.
I thought the offensive line protection, especially before Carver Willis went out, was pretty solid. It wasn't perfect, but given the level of competition, you can't ask for a ton more. Talk about getting baptized by fire. Noah likes to use that term. Max McCree coming in after Carver Willis is like, dude, this is this is his first game in, and it's just like tree trunks you're trying to block, man. Anyways, I just demons on the outside. You had guys like Amari Evans with showing spurts of what he can do on offense. Roebuck, in terms of a slot wide receiver, that's a true freshman. I don't know what more you can ask for. He looks like literally like mini Doug Baldwin.
He catches the ball. Yeah, he catches the ball everywhere. Like that's what like the full radius of catching the ball. I mean, he's going to be the next big wide receiver at the University of Washington, even with stature at 5'11", 6 foot, whatever he is.
And not like maybe the long speed that you would necessarily, but if he's such like a dynamic slot receiver that he's gonna pad the stats for sure for a long time. So
he has a way of just finding the soft spots, and that's a real. I mean, think about Wes Welker. He made his whole career finding those soft spots, and that's what Roebuck does really well.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too that's kind of weird about this game is that because the drives were so lengthy for Ohio State, or at least they seem like that, we had 34 dropbacks from DeMond. He was under pressure for 13 of them. And you would guess with 6 stacks that he was under pressure for like half of his dropbacks, but he wasn't. He completed 4 of those on those pressures. He completed 4 passes on them too. So all things considered, I'm okay. I'm not like super ecstatic, but I'm okay with what was happening up front. Ohio State did not blitz a lot in this game. They blitzed on 10 of the 34 dropbacks. That's not abnormal amount for them, which to this point, we've seen a lot of blitzing from defenses. So they just trust their guys to make, go after Denzel, do what Noah was talking about, bracket him, and then let the other guys beat you. And I think that has to do with a lot of why we saw like more effective use of the tight end, more effective use of the slot receiver underneath, was because of necessity, and that's not discounting the call out there or crediting it. We knew what that was going to be. We knew that was the pathway that was going to have to happen heading into this game. No secret at all. One thing I want to call out is just a minor thing here. Adam Muhammad had not been blocking well for us in the past game up to this point. His grades were low. He had, I think, 3 blocks, and he did actually pretty well up front. I know it's just kind of a minor thing. I'm searching for things in a game that we scored 3 points in.
6
points in.
Give us all 6, please.
But yeah, so the tough, obviously, as a party struggled in the in the run blocking department. They can't get stuff going on the right side with him behind him and Gurian, and it really makes things really reliant upon that left, the left side of the offensive line. And if you don't have Carver Willis moving forward, we know Jonah can do it, but as you travel deeper into this Big Ten schedule, like we can't afford a whole lot of injuries up front moving forward. And I wonder if we start seeing more Pocky Fee now, as we, I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, over the past few podcasts, but I think you're going to have to start bringing him in.
Are you talking about a right guard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed 100%.
Just because you can't be one dimensional on one side and then put that on tape 3-4 weeks in a row. If we are without Carver Willis for an extended period of time, you're going to have to be able to run to both sides. And there's a drastic drop off for us running to the right.
And it's not Azzopardi, because Azzopardi's grades are good in the run.
Well, not necessarily. He's been great against weaker competition against the run. He's been phenomenal lights out pass blocking, and it weighs out his overall grade. The run grades have been they've been compared to a lot of offensive linemen in the country, yes, they've been good, but in this game, he was in the 40s or 50s. Point is like we need to get better at running to the right, and that's just how it is. Chunk plays on the ground were not there. Like I said, Jonas still averaged 5.4 yards a carry, but that was still on a 34-yard run to start the game. A lot of his runs, or most of our attempts, are inside the tackles in this game, which I thought we could have gotten a little bit more creative. But again, once you have a few stalled runs, you don't have opportunities to run to the outside on 3rd and 9 in this game. So we had to rely on Demond, and he was bottled up for a lot of this game, in terms of his. We tried to run a lot of play action. I think we ran 45% play action in this game on his dropbacks. It just wasn't that effective because of like what Noah said. Their linebackers are just enormous, and like you said, the edges were
staying home.
Staying home. So those are the, I have a few more, but I'm curious on other thoughts that you guys have, but this was just an overall just tough game in the red zone to watch. The penalties.
That's real, man. And I think, it's also the tale of the two halves, because the first half we were actually really moving the ball the first half. We just couldn't get that ball in the end zone.
I know. I don't know if it was just wishful thinking or what, but I thought after last year when we turned that corner in the red zone that we might be done with dealing with this. But yeah, we didn't show up in the red zone again.
Well, so. and think about how much of that was due also to mental mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Especially on that first drive, or actually it would have been it was our second or third drive, because the first drive we went 3 and out. Then we had the drive with the penalties where Jed got called for that. Then we punt and get the ball back immediately. And that third drive was when we actually went down. And this was still in the first quarter, and drove all the way down to the 2 or 3 yard line. Then we get the penalty. Then we get the sack. And, we start having the mental mistakes that end up killing us on that. But one of the things I wanted to bring up, because I saw people complaining about play calling, and I actually don't think play calling was a problem. I think the fake field goal is what it is. I like being aggressive. I didn't particularly like that play, but I get it. But if you look on that drive, that was the 4th drive of the game, Jed Fish's play calling was really, really, really good. He had a designed run to Damon on 4th down, which was just... It got the first down. It looked really good because he had surprised them. And what's crazy is the left side of the line on that, they pancaked. It was Decker, Willis, and Mills. They pancaked everybody on that run. Then they had the seam route to Evans, which was just a thing of beauty. I think he got like 10 to 15 yards on that. And then we get the 2nd and 5 from the 18, and he bootlegs 97, stays home. And he misses Denzel coming across the middle, and then they end up on 3rd down. They end up throwing that weird screen pass to Muhammad where he got tackled in the backfield, and then the crappy fake field goal. But leading up to that, I thought everything was really humming as far as he was able to call the right plays to get us moving. It just seemed like when we stalled out, we really stalled out. We would get behind the sticks, or we get behind just the momentum, and next thing you know, we stall out and we're not getting a touchdown. We're trying to get a field goal or kicking a fake field goal.
Can I respond to 2 things on that? Because I think you bring up a really good point. I actually agree with you. I think our offense was kind of humming. The biggest thing that I saw that changed for whatever reason, maybe Patricia comes out with something different in the second half, but the biggest thing I saw is we were attacking Ohio State vertically. We were hitting them up the seam. We were hitting them with downhill runs. We were going Damon Williams with, we were designed running for him. We were hitting them in multiple ways going north and south. It seemed like as the game progressed, maybe their defense just clamped down. It just seemed like we needed to, we were bouncing stuff outside. We were hitting more stuff, horizontally. And that's when I saw us starting to struggle. On the fake field goal, I actually agree with you. I don't mind the call. It's why make that call on 4th and 12? A fake field goal is like a 4th and 3 type call. And then the other thing too is Grady Gross from the 27. I mean, what is that? That's a 41-yard field goal, 42-yard field goal. He's making that. He's a 5th-year senior. He's making that. We're going up 6-0 there. I get you're trying to spark something, but at 4th and 12, it just seems like, I don't really like the down and distance or something like that.
I was thinking about this because in hindsight, we're like, oh, that was a terrible play. You're playing Ohio State. You can't take points off the board. You gotta make sure you get all the points you can get. But also at that point, we had literally drove all the way down on them, and we'd done it a couple drives in a row. And maybe Jed's thinking this is something that we can do. It just the execution on those. If you're going to do it, because I said this, I told this to somebody online. I was like, I didn't really particularly like the fake field goal, but also if Decker DeGraff's actually running a route instead of down the field blocking, you never know what happens in that scenario.
He actually might be open if he actually runs a route. That's what's wild.
Yeah. So I mean that is what it is. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to do to tie a bow up on this offensive performance?
They were just well schemed, took away Denzel, like Noah said, just to put a bow on it. I mean, they decided to try to let Jonah beat them, and we didn't have a ton of opportunities to make that happen. Play action looked ineffective because they weren't afraid of Jonah. And lengthy drives, limited offensive possessions, and we couldn't convert field goals into touchdowns, and we had plenty of opportunities.
So let's go turn our focus to the defense, because the defense, I think, to be honest with you, for me, it surprised me. It surprised me, especially in the first half, how good they were against the run. 149 yards rushing. None of their backs went for over 100. I think they averaged 4.4 yards per carry.
Not terrible.
No, it really isn't. And, I was expecting them to just lean on us the whole game. And what ended up really hurting us in the end was the short passing game. That's what they did towards the end of the game to move the ball. Izzo, what did you think about the defensive performance?
There was no attempts over 20 yards from Julian Sand. I think, I mean, that's not a huge surprise. You would have thought that they would take, some shots, but in terms of their approach, they did exactly what Noah said that he thought that they would do, which is just continue to run and extend drives and wear you down as the game got on. And they executed that pretty well. In terms of what us on defense, I mean, we got to talk about Dylan Robinson here. You got a true freshman coming out against a guy both guys who are going to be top 2 round picks. Like, how do you not talk about that? I think he allowed 1 reception. It's just fantastic. I mean,
tackled really well too.
Tackled really well. I mean, the defense this year might be one of the stories of the defense is our tackling. Like, even McKellisteen I think he had 3 tackles in this game. He looked great. I mean, Jay Rich, take a freaking bow. Like, the DBs show up, your backup DBs show up. Alex McLaughlin looks like if he played in any other league would be an all-league safety. He struggled a little bit in coverage in some spots, but him, Devin Bryant, Efi, Esteen, super high grades tackling. Yeah, I mean, I can't say anything more about the secondary. They just look fantastic. And I realize Julian Sand isn't the biggest threat, but he is accurate. And so I don't know what he ended up with yards. What did he end up with in terms of passing yards?
200.
208.
Yeah, 208.
So if he
only averaged 7.4 yards per pass.
If you would have guessed that we held them to 4.4 yards a carry, he had that many passing yards, and we had a turnover in this game, you're taking that 10 times out of 10. Bryce Butler, Deshaun Lynch, Ontario had great games. We weren't generating a ton of pressure in this game, but they were stalwarts against the run. Deshaun Lynch, I know we talked about him last year where you hyper focus on the USC game where he got burned by Woody Markson multiple times. He in this game, he looks so much better against the run, getting off blocks. So that was fantastic. I thought Leroy was a liability in this game in terms of his coverage. Obviously, Rashawn Clark was out.
He's back for the Maryland game, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
So love to see him back in there. I thought they obviously no deep attempts. Everything was underneath. He completed 75% of his passes. 50% of his passes were underneath 10 yards. So that just kind of tells you what their game plan was: extend the drive, extend the drive, extend the drive. And we kind of knew that, and we showed up on defense, but we just couldn't take advantage on offense. So those are kind of, it's a testament to Walters that even an offense with 2 NFL receivers who are going to go in the first round or first 2 rounds at least, that they don't attempt deep passes on this defense with a true freshman cornerback starting. Like, that's pretty remarkable.
Okay. No, what about you? What were your takeaways from the defense?
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, if you would have asked me that, before the game, hey, you're going to hold Ohio State to 24 points. What are your thoughts on that? I would have said, man,
I'll take it.
we might have a ball game here, boys. I mean,
24, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would have taken that all day. You open up the game, we go 3 and out, but then they open up that glorious 4th down stand. I mean, that place was rocking. If you watch that play, the whole D line just absolutely stands up. Their offensive line. You see X-Ray Alexander scrape down, make that tackle on the running back. I mean,
Bryant made the initial hit though.
Devin Bryant did. Okay,
yeah.
So, but you see X-Ray. I just watched number 10. Man,
X-Ray finished it. Yeah,
yeah. He just scrapes down the line. It's like precision football. But the issue I have, and the thing that makes me say why, it's 3rd and 11. We're on the 18. I think it's late in the second quarter. We're in like nickel. I think we're in nickel formation, and we end up calling a 7-man pressure, drop 4.
Yeah.
And instead of us just going, hey, it's 3rd and 11, let's settle back into like some sort of like mid-level shell drop. We bring the freaking house. They just do a dunk over the top to Jeremiah Smith. He takes it in. Touchdown instead of 3-3 at the half, because here's what crushes me on this. If you sack them, now you're back to like the 27 or something instead of on the 18. But it's like, who cares? A 27, 42-yard field goal, whatever that may be, the percentages are still about the same. So that's where it's so frustrating. Instead of going 3-3 going into the half, now you flip it, you give them the momentum, they score a late touchdown. And we've been asking for pressure. We've been asking for, to open up the playbook. And he did. It's just, why open up the playbook? Why bring the full boat there?
One person we didn't bring up that I thought for his first game back played really well and was impactful was Manu, the linebacker from Arizona.
Yeah,
dude, absolutely.
And I loved how aggressive they were with the run blitzes, because when we faced teams that really run on us before, just letting them guys sit back, they get lost in the wash, being that they're all smaller linebackers. When he started doing the run blitzes, because I remember the first drive when they drove down and not converting the 4th down, they were getting kind of chunk running plays. And then you noticed the run blitzes start, and he did it with all of them. And every time Manu did it, he seemed to push that line back and force the runners into different lanes than what they were trying to go for.
He's a dog, man.
He is. And I'm actually really excited to see him going forward. And I know they probably had him on a pitch count because it's his first. He's less than a year out from a blown ACL, I believe is what it was. I also, in the presser today, Jed said something about Rainey Sales almost being ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And one of the things I would really, really want to see is a bigger inside linebacker playing against some of these Big Ten teams, because what I did notice was some of the littler guys getting lost in the wash.
I was just gonna point that out, that I think that we saw a big impact from Rashawn Clark not being in this game, and we saw them having to call upon Devin Bryant to make some plays, pass rushing and in pass coverage. And I think, like I kind of alluded to before this game, I'm a little bit concerned as we move forward if that becomes something that gets targeted. But hopefully we scheme that out, and Rashawn coming back is a big factor.
Oh, that's what I was just going to ask you guys. Do you guys feel at this point, after the last 2 games, Rashawn Clark has hopped Leroy Bryant on the depth chart?
No question.
Yeah, not a question.
Absolutely, man.
I was thinking.
Dude, can I say this really quick about Manu? The biggest thing I see with Manu, it's surely not his size. It's not his speed. And those aren't knocks. It's just the reality. You know what it is about Manu? He is so heady. He is a football player. Knows always on the ball. Knows always getting off. Knows how to get off blocks. I mean, he's just always kind of in the right place at the right time. Doesn't make a lot of like crazy splash plays, but he's just that consistent linebacker that, man, he covers, he tackles, he's in the right spot, and he's calling the plays. I mean, it's a nice addition to have. You know, even though I think we thought we'd only get him for 4 games, it seems like it might be a little more this year than we thought because of Buddha.
What did you guys think about Rylan Dillard Allen playing so much? They did a lot of 3 safety sets, and like I said, I think that I like the 3 safety sets. I like having the big hitters in. How do you guys feel about that moving forward? Do you think they were doing that just because they didn't have confidence in Leroy playing in the slot, or do you think they did that because the 3 safeties are so good?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, but I think one thing you see with Jed Fish, you see with Taylor Mays, you see with Jay Rich, dude, they are not scared to play freshmen.
Last thing before we move on to Maryland, and this is the last question for both you guys, and it's something that Husky Nation is asking. If Durfee can't go and is out for an extended period of time, because he looked like he was hurt when we were watching the game. We don't know anything for sure, but it looks like he might be out for an extended period of time. Who is going to fill that role besides Lynch? Are they going to start dipping into the freshmen with Hyde and Sanchez? What do you guys think? How do you think they move forward doing that? Because they need somebody that can really set the edge out there, and guys like Ward are a little small for that.
I think you'll see Ty bounce outside a little bit more too. But yeah, they're going to call on Devin Hyde. I can tell you that. You know, like I would. They've already shown that they're confident in him coming in. Obviously, you're hoping that Durfee is back, or he's only out for a short amount of time. But you've got to. We're not super deep there. You're going to have to get creative, and I think this staff trusts Ty to step into that role, and Hyde to step into that role too.
No, you got anything to add?
I just wonder if you'll start to see some different formation looks. Like, do we go like heavier? Where with historically maybe we wouldn't do that. I think the Ty call is good. I mean, in our preview in the season, I think we kind of thought he would play like a hybrid type role anyway. Yeah. So it's time to step up, man. Where the best ability is availability. There's some opportunities to make some paychecks, man. Lynch, Devin Hyde. Some of these young bucks, Hayden Moore.
Now that game is water under the bridge now, and we're looking forward, this weekend we go into Maryland, and we got our hands full. It's a 4-0 team. They're coming off a big win against Wisconsin for their first Big Ten victory. They got a freshman quarterback who is surprising people with how well he's playing. Fellas, if you're looking at this Maryland team, what's sticking out to you about Maryland, and what do we have to look out for as far as the Huskies go?
I'll open this game up, just give it a little preview like I always do. I always think that's kind of fun. Second time UW and Maryland have ever matched up. The only other time was in the 1982 Aloha Bowl. Wow. We're in College Park. This game opened up right around 5.5. That's the spread. You've seen the uptick to UW 6.5. The over under the total for this game is right around 52.5. Man, when I've watched this game, and we'll get into their offense, we'll get into their defense, et cetera, but when I've really watched this team play, they really haven't played anyone in these first 4 games. I looked at the ESPN F+ rankings. FAU, Florida Atlantic is ranked 107. Northern Illinois is ranked 114. Oof. Towson is an FCS opponent. They're not even in the top 138. And then you got Wisconsin. So, they finally got a Power 4 team. Wisconsin's one of the worst teams in the Big Ten.
They had to go to 3 different quarterbacks in that game.
And they're ranked 61. And I mean, so will this kind of be I know it's at home. Like I said, it's in College Park. They got this young Malik Washington kid. They got some weapons on the outside. Their defense is tough, sturdy. But I mean, this will be their first real test. And I think that's what you're kind of seeing from not just from you'll start to hear the national pundits talk about this game, but the sharp bettors, I think, really wanted to get that early line at 5.5, because I think you'll see this game tick up right around that 7.5 mark. Because I think the more and more you look, I think people are saying, yes, they won these games, but the law firm is coming into town. Can they stop, Williams, Boston, and Coleman? And so we'll see how that goes.
Yep. Izzo, what do you think?
Yeah, I just want to mention, like, they did what they were supposed to do in the first 3 games that they played, right? Then they played Wisconsin, like Noah's talking about. Wisconsin's defense is not what they have been in years past. Like, I'll just say that they put up 27 in that game. That's solid, but they're with
They don't got any more Watt brothers hanging around in there, right?
I will say this, like that is, and this kind of dovetails, and I won't give away too much in my prediction or what have you, but I kind of expect them to score somewhere around that 27 mark. Like I wouldn't be surprised if that's where we're kind of at, only for the simple fact that I think Durfee being out of this game has a big impact on it, but we'll talk more about that. Wisconsin's abysmal through the air. Their offensive line is just uncharacteristically terrible, compared to years past, or what you would expect from a Big Ten team. So you kind of have to take them holding Wisconsin to 10 points 2 weeks ago with a big grain of salt. Again, this is another team coming off of a bye, so they're going to have 2 weeks to prepare. But the strengths, the matchup for us on defense versus their offense, actually there is a pretty clear pathway, and it seems to me that is to protect from the deep ball, and that is something that no team has been successful on nor really attempted against us, frankly. And so if they want to go ahead and challenge us to that game, and Ryan Walters to that game, and Jay Rich to that game, and Taylor Mays to that game, then we'll see what happens. It's going to be like strength on strength type of situation.
Izzo, do you think that that's a really good call out? Do you think that's because just the sheer length and speed we have at each corner position? And then it's not like Esteen, I think, is 6'1", 6'1.5", yep. 6'2". McLaughlin 6'2". I mean, and they can all run. I think it's good, is because I think it's really hard to, especially when you're that quarterback and you're watching film, the offensive coordinator, you're looking at this defense from the all 22s, going, how do I actually get this ball over the top of these guys when they're so big and they can all just flat out run?
The big factor there too is that Dylan Robinson has stepped up and looks so good in this last game. I mean, you would think like, all right, no Takario Davis, we're going to be all right. We're going to move the football like at will, but you can't just go at and challenge Dylan Robinson and expect to be successful all game. You're going to have some success maybe, but not enough to score 30. And I think that Maryland's going to have to do that. And I know that Maryland's defense has got a ton of athletes, and they really do have great players. Like their defense is their strength. But I, to your point, think that it's a lot to contend with. Now, the injury bug hitting us when it did is not ideal, but I really have faith that the law firm, as you put it, Noah, which I love that adoption, is I think this isn't Ohio State's defense,
Yeah, and I also think when you're looking at what the Maryland offense is going to do, they were a lot different against Wisconsin than they were against Townsend or against FIAU or against
whatever.
The Northern Illinois, Northern FI, whatever FAU. Directional college.
FAU and Towson,
and also Northern Illinois. That was literally their thing, and you can tell by. First of all, Malik Washington's going to throw the ball at least 30 times in the game. It's not quite 2-1, but it's close to it as far as pass to run.
Offense.
But Malik Washington, if you look at what he did against Wisconsin, you could tell they were preparing for bigger competition. He only had 7.8 yards per throw. That's all he was averaging as far as completing. When he had the one big, I think there was a 62-yard touchdown pass. It was very much towards it was fourth quarter, end of the game. The game was pretty much out of reach. When I watched the film, it was very much like what we saw from Wazoo. Quick passes, check downs, and your first and maybe second read. He is mobile and he can move, but I don't think we're going to have a big issue with their offense. I think their offense is very good against what they've already seen. And to be honest with you, it could kind of be like what people have thought about the UW offense, where they saw, us really blow up these teams that weren't as good. And then when we played somebody who was harder, you watch DeMond's average go from 10 to 12 yards per pass down to that 7 mark. I wonder if that's what's going to happen here, where I think they're going to play a lot more conservative, because we're going to definitely be the best team that they've seen, and they don't have much of a running game. All their big runs happen towards the end of the game when they're already up.
Yeah, they do. We'll get into it with the offense, but they will like they're going to try to lull us to sleep, which is what they've done in a lot of these games with these underneath passes. And Malik Washington is really successful below 20 yards, more specifically within 10 yards, especially to the tight end and their slot receiver. Their receivers are I don't even know if sneaky good. They're good. They are, but they've kept it kind of vanilla up front. And I just don't know how good that offensive line is. We'll get into this. I don't want to give
Well,
away
how about we do that? Let's jump into the offense because we're already talking about it.
I know.
Izzo, let's give me that point because that point is a good point.
Everything really for them has been a deep shot, which they've been a lot more successful than other teams and again, it's not against great competition, but their receivers are good, and we shouldn't discount that. It's just that Malik Washington's looked like how he's looked and looked so veteran, and despite his age, I think because they've schemed that way, and so I do have some concerns about just them lulling us to sleep and then being successful and being the first team that is successful with deep shots, but we'll see how that goes. They've had basically played one mediocre defense, and that's Wisconsin. Like we said, they put up 27 on them. They're a little bit more willing than any other team that we've played to take that deep shot. Like I said, I think it would be ill-advised for them to lean on it too much. They really should set it up as we're talking, as I'm kind of alluding to. Their offensive line, I'm just going to, like I typically do, I'm going to go through kind of some of these players, and I won't spend too much time on the offensive line, but because there's a trend. The trend is that they are a terrible run blocking team, but they just to be blunt about it, terrible. 18th out of 18th in terms of grades as an offense, in terms of run blocking, but they do well blocking the pass. And I think some of that is that Malik Washington is really good at evading pass rushers, frankly, but it does worry me that Durfee is out of this game.
Hey, to add to your point real quick, against Wisconsin,
go ahead,
they only averaged 2.7 yards per carry against Wisconsin.
Yeah. So what this team is going to do, and again, it plays into a strength for us. So that's good. So we'll see who wins in that strength for strength battle. Up front, I don't even know how much time I should spend on this. They're big. They're 6'5" on average. Their best offensive lineman is their center. The trend is with them that they can't block the run, but they can block the pass. So I'm just going to skip through naming off all these offensive linemen. They're mostly seniors. They have one underclassman, and it is that center, and he is their best graded pass blocker and run blocker.
Can I say one thing on their on their offensive tackles? I think if you can get on them with a couple speed rushes, I think they struggle to open up their hips. A little stiff. Yep.
Yeah, and Wisconsin isn't necessarily known. I haven't taken a deep look into Wisconsin's edges, but I would assume that their prototype is not that speedy edge. It's like a strength guy. So great call out there, Noah. That is a good point. And we'll see how effective we can be, because we need to get pressure on Malik Washington, because frankly, Malik Washington under pressure is not good. He's one of
happy feet.
Like, he does make guys miss, but when he's not giving up, he's not getting sacked a ton, but he is, not accurate. I think he's completing like right around 35-40% of passes when he's facing pressure. His grades when he's facing blitzes is not very good. He's like in the 60s. They have three running backs. They've got a stable of guys who are all okay. DeJuan Williams, he's a sophomore. Nolan Ray, Iverson Howard. They have 4 rushing touchdowns combined. 2 of those are from Malik Washington. So really 2 touchdowns from the 3 of them. They're led through the air. And so we'll talk about their wide receivers and their tight ends here. Really, there's just one tight end to talk about. That is Dorian Fleming. 6'3", 245 pounds. Again, not a great pass blocker. Neither are their running backs, by the way. They all grade out pretty poorly. Outside of Dorian Fleming, they've got these 3 receivers who I mentioned. They've got Octavian Smith Jr. on one side. He's 6 foot. They target him in the middle a lot. They go to him probably more than any other guy. He's still a deep threat. He can do both, but they do, again, this offense has kind of been dumbed down to get completions and move the ball because of their lack of running game through short passes. So they leverage him that for a lot. Same idea for Shalik Knotts. He's their other wide receiver, but he's less successful, especially underneath. They've been somewhat successful to him on the outside. He's 6'3", but their main guy in the slot is Jaleel Farouk. He's a transfer from Oklahoma. He was very successful at Oklahoma. He got injured at Oklahoma, then transferred out. He's from Maryland originally, so he went back home. They get him the ball a ton underneath. He's like the dude that they want to get into space. So really, if you're going to focus in on two guys to shut down, to me, it's Octavian Smith Jr., it's Jaleel Farouk. And if you can kind of lock those guys down, you're in good shape.
Knotts also has 5 TDs and leads them as far as scoring goes.
Yeah, he like, I feel like they go to him less frequently, and he's like the surprise guy. But to me, the two more skilled guys for them on offense are Farouk and Octavian Smith Jr. But I'm not going to discredit Shalik Knotts. He's just a little less consistent.
Dude, Knotts has made some acrobatic catches. I'll tell you that. He's a good athlete.
Yeah, if you're looking how the breakdown goes, Knotts has 14, Smith has 16, Farouk has 17, and the tight end Fleming has 12, and they are literally the best. That's a reception. Sorry, they're leading everybody, and so you're right. It's literally that stable, and then it drops off. The next closest guy is 5 receptions.
Those are the guys. I just think Shalik, what you might not see in, like, as we were watching highlights or their game, you're not going to find a lot of the incompletions to him, and him underneath his grades are a little bit questionable.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So, but either way, they have good receivers is the point.
You know what? You know what that's telling me actually, Izzo, because one of the things I noticed, especially in the Wisconsin game, a lot of drops. Like a lot of drops from their team, and maybe that's what's happening with.
I think if you
Shalik
go back, you'll find that's Knotts. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense then.
So I actually had this in here, but I'll say it now. They're one of the top teams in the country with drops. They have 16 drops in the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes so much more sense. I get what you're saying now. So you're saying the pedigree of Farouk and Smith is kind of like up here.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I think if the 5 touchdowns, I'm sure I'm not saying he's like a bad receiver. I'm just saying if there are 2 guys where they're going to rely on these guys to move the football consistently, my guess is that it's Octavian Smith Jr. and it's Farouk.
Dude, Farouk. I remember Farouk at Oklahoma. He was tough.
Yes. Yeah. And he's not lacking in size. He was like 220 pounds, 6'3". He's a stud.
All right. All right. Is there anything else, Izzo, you have to add on with this?
No, I think it's really clear. It's just basically like you're going to want to eliminate the deep shot. They're not going to be that successful at setting up with a run. And in my opinion, minus your Zach Durfees, like if they run a lot to the right side of this line, and that's Jacob Lane's territory. So if Maryland decides to try to beat us through setting up passes with the run, I just still think they're not going to be that successful doing it, especially when you just did a pretty decent job against Bo Jackson and Ohio State. So I think the path is clear for them. They're going to try to air this ball out, get Malik, Washington to evade pressure. I would like to see us be bringing pressure and blitzing more often than we typically do, especially with Durfee out, because he's not comfortable back there. He makes guys miss, but he's not accurate outside of that pocket and under pressure.
Okay. All right, Noah, what are you seeing with this offense?
Yeah, I think Izzo hit a lot of the big ones. I mean, I'll just pop off a couple of things real quick. I mean, this whole Maryland offense starts and stops with this true freshman, Malik Washington. It's interesting because he's a freshman, but he really hasn't played as a freshman these first 4 games. He does have elite poise. Kind of a cool story too. I always like to share these kind of things because I think this is what makes college football fun. This is a kid who is ranked 54th in the country in his 247 profile. He ended up staying home, picking College Park. He grew up 25 miles from the campus, had offers from a lot of the big boys. Penn State, Oregon offered him, but he decided to stay home, which I love. I think when you hear Mike Locksley, the head coach, talk about him, I think they always knew that he had this elite potential. I just don't think they thought that this potential was going to show up, so soon. As a matter of fact, if you guys remember this name, Justin Martin, that West Coast product out of Inglewood, went to UCLA. That was one of UW's big targets. Justin Martin actually transferred to Maryland, and Malik Washington beat him out. And I remember specifically being very enamored with Justin Martin, how good he was, and how dual threat quarterback. And one thing you see with Malik, it's not like Malik can run, but I don't really think that's where he makes his hay. Yeah. He's surely like a pass first quarterback. But when you talk about the running back room, Izzo, I think you're right. I think because of the offensive line struggles to really run block, I think their running back room, they don't really have any real dudes. I think they just kind of got, three
Some
guys. Yeah, they got guys on their team.
You can say it. They're
Jags, yeah. I mean, they haven't had a 100-yard rusher yet. I know they like to spread the ball around, but you would think against even some of these, lower level teams, you'd get a couple 50-yard runs.
It says a lot.
It does
if they don't do that. So.
But yeah, so I mean, that's a quick little overview of what I see. I mean,
all right,
go ahead.
Then let's do this then. How about this? Because you're right. I think Izzo really kind of hammered in who they got and what they do offensively.
Sorry, guys.
My biggest question to you. No. That's perfect because it leads us right to where we need to be, and that's if they're going to be throwing the ball a lot on us. How do we get home? How do we make sure that they are running it, they're throwing into a brick wall because they don't have time to throw. The DBs they're facing are picking them off. What would you say, Noah, is our best path to victory defensively?
Yep. Confusion. Create confusion up front. I think this is another game where I think the last game against Ohio State we opened the defensive playbook. So we've shown a lot of it now. So I think against Maryland you're going to see that whole thing. We talked a lot about Malik when he's comfortable back there. Dude, he has a tendency to pick you apart at 7, 10, 12, yards down the field. But he has a tendency to be extremely inconsistent when he gets happy feet. How do you create happy feet? Get him off his schedule, get him off his spot. And so I think you're going to see blitzes after blitzes. This young buck. It's another week where we see a young quarterback, and he hasn't seen the speed and the quickness of our defense. So I think creating confusion up front. And then the other thing I think you're really going to see is I think this is a game where our defensive tackles can finally get that pocket collapsing pressure. And I think you'll see two sacks come from our interior defensive line in a game like this. Like Yep. And so that's where I think you can really create hay against these guys is don't let him get going. There's going to be 40,000, 41,000 in this stadium, but don't let this crowd get going. Take Malik Washington out of the equation early, and that will shut this Maryland offense down quick.
All right, Izzo, what do you got to add?
I think a lot of this has to do with the linebacking core because I do like Noah's call a lot where this is the game where we're facing an offensive line that has graded out well in pass blocking, but hasn't really seen like a confusing scheme up front, in my opinion. And this is where you can show that out and get some success up front. I will say, I think Malik Washington does have the quickness. He's now running quarterback, like Noah said. He does have the quickness to make guys miss at times, but he's uncomfortable there. And so where that, to me, that math equation equates out to if you're going to generate pressure, it could come from the linebackers in this game. And I'm really curious if they do bring ZRS into this game. I don't see him being called upon to play a lot of pass coverage. I think they bring him in to kind of get to the quarterback. So I'm curious about his.
I like that. I like that call a lot if he plays. Yeah.
I'm not so confident in it that I'm going to call him out to have like 2 or 3 sacks in his first game and he comes in and plays a ton in this game. I do think he has some level of impact in making him uncomfortable because I know that ZRS is an obscure athlete. Like he's a big dude who is fast and definitely has the wherewithal to get home and has probably been chomping at the bit trying to get to a passer. So, and I think that and Manu, those two together could be really interesting in terms of creating pressure and having a drastic impact in this game. So I'll just, that's kind of how I will button things up. I will say this. we should not underestimate Maryland's ability to get open, and we should not discount how vanilla Ohio State's offense, their
Agreed.
game plan was. Yeah. And we haven't seen big time deep threats and an offense scheme for that against us. And this could be that game. And we are starting a true freshman, and we do believe in him, and we think the world of him, and believe that he's going to be like a top 10 pick one day. Frankly, we've said that multiple times, but I just wonder, with the threats that they have and how accurate Malik Washington has been deep, if they do see some success there. So that's my fear pathway for this game is, do we make some mistakes that extend drives that allows them that deep shot that is successful, that type of thing.
When I was watching the Wisconsin game specifically, the one thing that I think UW could do, especially with our bigger imposing corners, because they do it. Their receivers aren't tiny. The 162, 163. I think one guy's like 213 pounds, so they're not tiny guys. But aggressiveness, having our corners be up in their face and punching them in the mouth.
Little man press.
Yes, on the line. That way, when you're sending those blitzes, timing is going to be screwed up, especially if you're holding them up at the line. And also, guys aren't going to be open. He's going to be looking for that immediate outlet. All right, so do you guys have anything else you want to talk about as far as UW defense, Maryland offense?
No.
All right, let's switch to the other side, because our offense has been very dynamic up until about the end of the second quarter of last week. So if we're looking at the Maryland defense, which they're good, they got those two linebackers, Whitney and Sydney.
Sydney Stewart I think he's technically an edge or maybe like an outside linebacker, and they have Wingate. Wingate's a stud.
Yeah, Wingate is phenomenal. And those two together, and then they have Riddick, or I think it's Riddick in the middle.
Trey Riddick.
And they're a good trio. And so with us missing a tackle likely for this game, how do you see the UW offense attacking this? And I guess, Izzo, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah.
How do you want to see this playing out as far as what the UW offense can do against this Maryland defense?
I don't think you get too crazy in terms of just changing everything up one way or another. This defense hasn't played a lot of really, I know Noah's talked about this, quite a bit. They haven't played a lot of big time offenses that are going to be super threatening. Wisconsin's offensive line is just not what it used to be. So I think I don't want this to be vanilla, but I also don't think you need to go crazy outside of what you do. But it's Denzel, it's Jonah, it's Damon doing Damon stuff. They've been so good on tape. There's not a huge weakness, And I'll go through these players, but before I go off with the players, I want to hear Noah's take on what we should be doing on offense here.
Yeah, I mean, let me talk a little bit about this defense. I mean, Monachino, I'm not exactly sure how they pronounce it, but man, he was hired this past spring to run this defense. He brought in kind of a base 3-4 defense, but because they have such good DBs, that's kind of like their strength with their linebackers. They like to really run like a 4-2-5. This is another defense that'll try to spy Damon Williams. I know we've talked a lot about Daniel Wingate. He's probably going to draw the short end of the stick on this one. He's their field general. He's the one who makes all their play calls on defense. But I'm going to be very clear. He's not Arvell Reese.
Right.
He's not Sonny Styles. He's a big body, but he doesn't run like those guys. But I'll tell you what, they got these two young edges. We'll talk. I don't want to give it up too much, but I want to talk about my matchup later. But they got these young edges who Mike Loxley, man, they're both freshmen, are very bullish on, and he thinks they can pretty much win just about any matchup they see because of the speed they have. But I think there's some ways UW can attack this Maryland defense and be successful.
There's a couple really big stats you got to look at when you look at this Maryland defense. One number is 16, the other number is 8. 16 is the amount of sacks this defense has. That's a lot through 4 games. That's 4 games. Then 8 is the number of interceptions they have.
Yeah, they have
4
tons
games.
of turnovers.
Great call, Mike.
Yeah, we called out the two edges and a couple of the lines. They also
Zahir
have
Mathis and Sydney Stewart. Yeah,
they also have a DB. Last name is Husky, he's a playmaker.
Do you want to go through these guys in terms of just kind of introducing you, kind of
Yeah, we go through them quick.
Yeah,
I think there's some names there that we should definitely talk about.
I'll just run through this like pretty quick in terms of the main guys you should take a look at, because they do a lot of rotating, especially up front, just like every other team does. But the main guys who've played the most, like Dante Joyner is a corner for them who's been pretty lights out. And then you have the Daniel Wingate, stud linebacker like we talked about, but we kind of recognize that there's a gap there between like your Reese, your guys like that and Wingate, but he is solid. You have the two young edges, Sidney Stewart, beast. He's the pass rusher guy. They asked Zahir Mathis less from the pass rush side. They ask for of him more when it comes to stopping the run a little bit, but he still can get home. Then you have Jalen Husky in terms of the secondary. Him and Delhomme, those are the two guys that they have in the backfield that are kind of keeping things up front the best that they can. Like no, like Mike said, they generate a good amount of pressure. They get picks. A lot of their turnovers for them have been like on special teams and stuff like that. Like they've played weak teams, but they have athletes. Those are the main guys to focus on.
Lakai, don't forget about Lakai Rowland too. He has 2 picks on the year. He's tough.
Lakai Rowland's been really good. He's like the third corner for them. He's in like 50-60% of snaps for them. And then their defensive line, their interior defensive line is where they might be gettable. They've graded out really well in terms of Cam Rice and Dylan Fontes, but we'll see as we kind of break this down. Those are the main guys we should be focused on.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Noah, how can you see UW's offense though then attacking these guys?
Yeah, I feel like we say this every week, but this is another week where you got to see a heavy dose of Jonah Coleman in this game. I want to see it a little bit differently. I want to see UW some moderate tempo and almost like targeted tempo too.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, yep. Izzo, you talked about how they rotate their defensive line, and they do. They rotated a ton. When you watch these games, you see they play a lot of different guys. What does tempo allow you to do? It allows you to not allow those teams to substitute. Their trenches will get tired, and I think that's where UW can seriously make a lot of money in this game.
I love that. I absolutely love that, because them D linemen chasing Damon around and not being able to get off the field. Yeah,
you're gonna have to have that in this game, man. They got athletes.
Yep, and I would love to. I think our interior line can have a big game. I think we there's been a little bit of struggles on certain parts of our interior line, and I think this is a get right game for them. They only have one returner that played a lot last year, and quite a few transfers coming into this interior defensive line. I want to see us go back to this well-oiled zone blocking concept, inside and out. We became extremely successful with that when we do it. Get a hat on hat, play downhill football like we talked about. Early in that Ohio State game, that's when we were successful. When we were going north and south running, let Coleman, let Adam Muhammad get rumbling, and there's not a lot of defenders. I don't care how good, how big you are. When those guys keep coming downhill at you, boom, 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 just like a Mack truck, man, you'll start going like, hey man, let me dive at your ankles. Let me dive at your knees, try to get you down. And lastly, before I talk about some of the passing stuff I want to see design runs for DeMond. Just like Mike said, this guy is electric. Use his legs, allow him to create. We are going to be in these games because of him. Finally, if you see the spy, which we're going to see, what do I say? The middle of the field, the seams will be open. The tight ends are going to be open in this game again, and expect a nice game from Roebuck. He's going to slowly but surely, you're going to start seeing he's going to start really making himself the second elite wide receiver in this offense throughout the year. So that's kind of what I think you can attack this Maryland defense with.
Izzo, you got anything to add?
No, I really like that. Like for me, the reason why I said just stick to your guns is because Maryland hasn't put a lot on tape that you're like, yeah, this is an exploitable piece. And that's why I think probably this rings true for Mike, why he reacted the way he did when it comes to, keeping that defense on the field, is because they got guys who can run, but also beyond that, it's a lot of young guys. And I question that discipline too. So dealing with Demond, keeping him in the pocket, is that what you're going to ask from two freshmen, edges? Probably not. So you're going to have to bring up this spy. And I love everything that you said there. Like the middle of the field is what you want to attack here. And Denzel's going to get his, like this is easily the best receiver that they've faced so far this year. Guess who their worst graded tackling position is? Guess what it is?
Safety?
It's their slot corner.
Ooh.
Kevin Humes. And then he just doesn't have a whole lot of success. He's really young, but again, that kind of highlights what we need to be doing on offense in terms of looking for your Desmond Roebucks, looking for your tight ends, stuff like that over the middle.
All right.
And
well, then
they don't have their two main starting cornerbacks are not the two quarterbacks with the most amount of snaps, Humes, and then the guy that I mentioned before, Dante Joyner, both 6 feet tall.
Okay, so you can take advantage of that with the taller receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this then, Izzo: who are some of the impact players that you're watching then for the offense?
It's Roebuck. I'm sorry to steal yours, Noah. It is him and Jonah. I mean, I'll just keep it simple here. Those are the two guys that control how, and obviously Demond. I'm just excluding him. Those are the two that are going to create explosives for us.
Noah?
Drew Azzopardi and Max McCree.
Oh gosh, I forgot about the outline. Yes.
Versus the edges in Zahir Mathis and Sidney Stewart. Both these guys are freshmen. They have 6.5 sacks combined. Kind of a cool thing with Max McCree. A lot of people don't know this. He's coming home back to Maryland. He committed to Maryland, played at Maryland first, then went to Iowa CC. I think he might have went Iowa CC, then Maryland, and back to Iowa CC. But point being, I think that's a matchup that is going to be very interesting to watch, especially because, like I said, how bullish Mike Locksley is on these young freshmen. I would like to see Azzopardi and McCree kind of put these dudes in the dirt and give them some pancake and syrup a couple different times and slow these guys down. Izzo, great call. Jonah, easy to call, but he's
the tone setter.
Yeah, I mean, gets back big time, man, on Saturday. 130 plus on the ground, 2 touchdowns.
Ooh,
I like that. I love the sound of that.
Defensive wise, like I said, this is where paychecks are made in the backfield from our defensive line. Armand Parker, can we get that guy?
Him? I like him.
12 to 15 snaps for this kid. I'm telling you, every time he's in, it seems like he's making a play. So I really would like to see Armand Parker playing more. And then, are you ready for it? Dylan Robinson gets his first pick of the season against Maryland.
Amen.
I like that a lot. I want to see Decker DeGraff really go nuts in the seams. I think that's going to be open all day.
Give me something. What, 5 catches, something like that? Like, what do you?
If I'll tell you what, if he could get 3 catches but average say 15 to 20 per catch, like he did all last year, I think you're going to see, and maybe a tutty. That is something that I could see being great. And then to build on that, Jonah Coleman, I really like what I've seen out of Adam Muhammad. Get him the ball a lot too. If the running game is working, do it as a 1-2 punch and let them tenderize that meat so we can get in there and start cooking, start chefing. You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
Before we move on to the score predictions, make sure you go like, subscribe, leave comments. But more so than anything, make sure you go down to that little link that says join the Discord. The Discord is 2,900 members strong. It's the biggest and best online Husky community that you can join. All right, scoring predictions. Fellas, it looks like I'm first in the scoring prediction. I can do that. I think we go into Maryland, we really find our footing again, and we end up winning 35-14.
Whoa.
All right.
I like it. Is it you want to go?
You can go. I'll save mine.
All right. I think it's the big bounce back game for the Dogs too. I think we also find our footing with the offense. We get back on track. This is where actually playing in the Palouse early will pay dividends. Already having like a road test. I know it ended up being 59-24, but I think that travel, that environment, that pressure, playing in the Apple Cup early in this season will actually pay dividends. This is a big game for Maryland too. If they can go if they can get this win, they go 5-0, have an opportunity to crack the top 25. But in the end, man, this is a game where I just think, and Izzo said this last game, that where the stars shine out on either team. I just think our stars are better. I know we're traveling back east. I know we have injury concerns, but in the end, I coined it. I'm going to say it again. The law firm of Williams, Boston, and Coleman shows out 38-26 dogs.
Ooh. All right, Izzo. Saving the best for last.
I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm worried about this game just because of the athletes that they have on defense and the injuries to Carver Willis and Zach Durfee. I think are coming at a really bad time, especially piled on with Buda Algda. And I love that Manu stepped up and it's a huge piece. You have to have that linebacker piece. Without Manu, I probably would not pick UW to be winning this game, and I'm gonna pick us to barely win this game. And I have us winning this game like 31-28, 31-30. I don't want to discredit the fact that Maryland has not played big competition. They haven't played really any good teams to this point, but they did what they were supposed to against those teams, especially on defense. And some of the stuff that I saw from us on play calling and executing the red zone has me worried. Yes, because it's Ohio State, but also because of execution and play calling. We have to have a get right game on a travel game to the other side of the country when it comes to discipline. And that worries me a lot. I really could pick this game for Maryland, if we're taking our Duke hat off, because, they just a lot of turnovers, like producing 8 turnovers, 16 sacks, and you're playing Max McCree at left tackle. I think Max McCree is great. I think he got baptized by fire last week, but you have to get Demond. We don't have a choice. We have to get Demond outside of the pocket, and you have to get him creating. Denzel has to have enough time, and for whatever reason, we did not see that happen last week. So I'm going to pick us to win 31-28, but I am absolutely worried. 100% do not feel very confident in that pick.
Hey, Izzo, you are the guy that worries for UW. So you know what?
I am the most anxious of
you're
all.
You're Washington Jesus, bro. You worry for all of us.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not the most anxious hyper online fan out there. There's some other ones that are probably more, but I'm up there. And I think there's reason to be concerned here if we just go math. And I don't think they have Ohio State's defense, but I also don't think we're playing another team off of a bye who has 2 weeks to prepare for this game.
I want to see what Malik Washington does under that fire. When you start putting the fire of Washington defense on, I think that's when you start seeing 18-year-olds make mistakes. And so
I will say the reason I am picking UW, not to be super pessimistic like this, is that you're going to have to hit deep balls on Ryan Walters' defense.
It's not easy to do. Ohio State didn't do it. Ohio State didn't do it. Ohio State's the best, and they have the best receiver in college football. Maybe both of them.
And a guy who folds under pressure when he's dealing with pressure. I'm not saying like fold under the pressure of the moment because they haven't had any of those. But yeah, he's gonna have to be his best that he's ever been under pressure. And he's a true freshman. Or he's a freshman. I don't know if he's true.
All right. Is there anything else you guys want to say about this game before we call this a pod?
No, how do you feel about what I just said there? That's probably what most brash and worried I've been about it, picking UW to win in quite a while. Do you agree with that? What are you brash thoughts? Take off.
Yeah, no, I just I don't know why. I've never been able to put my head on this. I don't know why it takes a toll when you travel all the way to the East Coast when you play a game. I don't know why, but it does. But one thing that buddies that I trust always tell me is good teams travel. And what that means is if you got a good teams travel. They play.
How do you think the three there? How do you guys
I think our injury concerns are real. I think playing on the East Coast and our injury concerns are real. I just think the law firm, man. I'm telling you, I just think that I think in a game like this, I just think they're better. Yeah. I just think our star power is better. I don't think you can. I think Jonah Coleman Dude, he's only got 8 games left in college football. Plus our bowl game. He's gonna want to show out. He said it after the game. He said something along the lines of like, when you win, it's good. When you lose, it's time to learn. And it's like, I think they can learn from that Ohio State game, and I think it's time for the young Bucks and some of our second string guys to step up and make their paychecks, man. We don't lose to no Terrapins.
We got the leadership. Like it's almost like it's the tangibles, like the fact Jonah Coleman he still had 70 yards on 13 carries. Like that still exists against Ohio State. So like to your point, you still have the star powers, which I agree with, which is why I'm picking them to win. They haven't seen this on offense.
What do you guys think the 3:30 start is good or bad for us, or just neutral?
That's actually, I think it's fine. It's not 9 a.m. and it's not Friday night at 6.
Okay. All right. So we have to wait and see how. Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see how this plays out. So for my guys Izzo and Noah, I'm Mike Flaunt, and this is the Dubbed Up Podcast. As always, go Dogs.
We don't lose to no Terrapins, baby.
We don't lose to no Terrapins.
What the hell is a Terrapin?
Maryland's my favorite jersey in college football. I forgot to mention that. I love the helmets. Yeah.